he lost in the Fifth Circuit Court of Appeals on his COVID mandate, the OSHA rule and so on. Finally, they put it in writing. It got challenged in the Fifth Circuit, which is the Court of Appeals for Louisiana, Mississippi, and a couple of other small southern states. And he lost. And he came out and said businesses should move forward with the requirements despite the court-ordered pause. That's what the White House spokesperson said. So forget that court ruling. They paused it. They said it's not constitutional, and we have to hold it until the courts can further adjudicate. And he's basically flouting that too.
Well, can you imagine if that were President Trump and there had been a lower court decision or an appellate court decision that was probably working its way somewhere else? And if he'd have just declared, don't listen to the courts, that would have been just roundly discussed and criticized and dissected. And yet when President Biden does it, it's just almost as if, well, and I don't know from a legal standpoint, Megyn, you know more than I do, if he has the right to do that. I was asked in the past couple of years, when there is a court that makes a decision like that, does the executive branch have to go along, or are they not co-equal, and can the executive branch continue to resist something?
No, they are not. The court has the ultimate say on what the law is. Marbury versus Madison, and they have said the law does not allow this mandate, and it's been temporarily stayed, so it cannot be enforced until this goes up to the Supreme Court or the Fifth Circuit lifts its stay. And he knows that. He knows that very well.
Well, I believe the whole game has been since the start. I believe President Biden announced this in September, and it was a long time before that temporary rule came out recently. And I think they know that even if this gets overturned ultimately in court, the game is that many people in anticipation of this have already gone ahead and gotten their vaccine. So a lot of money's been made, a lot of coverage has been had because of the anticipation that this would happen. Whether or not it's ultimately challenged and is a loser doesn't matter in that aspect.
Mm-hmm. So the COVID overreach continues day by day. And thankfully now we're starting to see a few more articles, even in the left-leaning press, questioning the never-ending mask mandates, in particular for our children. And now the buzz about possible vaccine mandates for kids as young as 5. We're seeing the city of San Francisco saying that your kid cannot... They cannot, I want to get my facts straight, that I got it in front of me. They announced last week the city will require children in that age group, 5 to 11, to show proof of vaccination to enter restaurants, sporting events, swimming pools, and more. Mayor Bill de Blasio in New York said, yep, I'm looking at the vaccine mandate for your 5-year-old too. Seems like a good idea. New York School of American Ballet informed parents via email on November 4th, all students, and they enrolled children as young as 6, must receive the COVID vaccine by January. But this is an experimental vaccine still for children. That this does not have FDA approval, unlike the MMR vaccine and all the other things that we do have to get our kids to send them to school, which I happily did. And I wonder whether this is finally sort of the overreach that's going to stop the COVID madness, Coleman. I mean, I know you've been covering this a lot on your show with various doctors and experts about COVID and the ethics behind where we're going with this. What do you think?
Yeah, well, I think the question of vaccination for adults and vaccination for children is very different. And I don't think we can just automatically apply our policy about whether it makes sense to get vaccinated as an adult to children. And certainly the masking, there just has to be a line here somewhere. And we can all draw that line in different places, but ultimately we have to have a science-based conversation about what the actual relative risks are for different populations, right? Not every population is going to need to be treated like 60-year-olds, 60 plus with an autoimmune. And so at some point that line, the risk becomes so low that we really have to just allow people to live their lives. The question is that 12-year-olds? Is that who is that exactly? So, but there are some people that are not even willing to have that conversation. Mm-hmm. It's just going to be vaccination until the end of time, masks until the end of time, because it's become a symbol of people's political affiliation at this point.